We're going to make these awesome cinnamon buns, homemade, that are so much better than what you can get at Cinnabon. They're soft, gooey, chewy goodness, and you're just going to love them. To get started on our dough for these cinnamon buns, we're going to start in a KitchenAid standing mixer. We're going to pour in 4 cups of all-purpose flour. And with that, we need a half a cup of granulated sugar. Additionally, we're going to put in, let's see, I need 3/4 of a teaspoon of fine sea salt. So you want to use the fine sea salt, not the coarse one, but so you can find this in the grocery store. One, 2, 3/4 teaspoons of fine sea salt. We're going to also add 1/3 cup of unsalted butter. So here's my 1/3 cup of unsalted butter. We want to put in let me do the eggs next. So 2 whole eggs and then 1 yolk. So what I did was separated the whites from one of these yolks and then put 2 whole eggs. So 2 whole eggs plus 1 yolk. And then the final 2 things I'm going to need is some instant yeast. Don't use active yeast, use instant yeast. And the good thing about this is that it comes in a packet of 2 1/4 teaspoons, which is the exact amount you need. So we're going to put in instant yeast. And yeast is a living organism, so you have to make sure you don't kill it. You also got to make sure that your yeast is not expired, so pay attention to the expiration date on the yeast package. But then we need warm milk between 120 and 130 degrees to make sure we don't kill the yeast, because the yeast will die if it's too cold or if it's too hot. So we got everything in there we need. We now just need to mix this. So I'm going to use the dough hook and put it inside my mixer. Let me move that over so you can see. And go ahead and lock it and put it on low. Let that mix up. And you don't have to do this, you don't have to knead it like this for a long time. Just want to get that dough ball to form. And once it's formed, then we're ready to put it into another bowl and let it rise. So it looks like actually that it's doing a pretty good job of not crawling up the sides. So I'm going to go up 1 more level, maybe 2. It's going to be very, very sticky dough, and that's what we're looking for. I know it's hard to handle, but put a little flour on your fingers and it'll be okay. Okay, that looks like enough. Let's see how it is. You need to separate your dough from your dough hook. Very sticky. Don't taste this. This is not edible yet because it's got raw eggs in it. Just dangerous. Oh, now I need to get some flour on my hands to make it easier to hold on to this very sticky dough. And now that I have my ball of dough, I'm going to take some butter and coat the bottom and sides of the ceramic bowl just to keep the dough from sticking to it. And more butter doesn't hurt anything here. And that I'm going to cover up with some saran wrap. Let me clean my hands in the oven. And like I said, it's just slightly warm. It's not cold, it's not hot. So while that dough is rising, we can go ahead and work on getting our filling for the cinnamon rolls mixed up. And we do that with 1 cup of brown sugar. I'm using light brown sugar. It doesn't matter really. Dark is maybe even better, but light brown sugar works just fine. Then we also use 2.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. That's close. 2.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. And we want to really mix that well. And I just use a whisk, a wire whisk. It takes a little while because you have to push it around. You could use a spoon, I guess. Be sure to dig into all those corners. And we just want to get that cinnamon and sugar, or brown sugar, to be well mixed. And then we can set that aside until we need it when we go to fill our cinnamon rolls. In preparation for baking these cinnamon rolls, I'm going to butter the inside of this 9x12 Pyrex baking dish. It's easier if I use, it's easier cleanup if you use a baggie over your hand. You want to get all the way up the sides because the rolls are going to expand and you don't want them sticking to the sides. Get into those corners real well. And now we just have to get the dough out of the oven and roll it out. We'll be right back. So we're now ready. I just took this out of my oven where I was keeping it slightly warm, and you can see it's more than doubled in size, which is what we want. It's been an hour and a half. So what we need to do is get our clean dry countertop with some all-purpose flour so we can roll this out. Now, theoretically, this should just dump right out. Just like that. It's a little wet still. So I'm going to scrape those extra bits down. And put some flour on it. And on my hands, just to make it easier to handle. I'm going to fold it over a few times. And start to get it into our shape that we want. So we want this thing to be pretty long, about 27 inches long. Let me flour up a roller pin. And we'll want to roll it out to about a 1/4 inch thick. Try to keep those ends as squared up as much as possible. Okay, so the next step is to I warmed up some butter, and so it's extra soft. I want to dump that on top and spread it all over the top of our dough. We'll leave about a 1/2 inch from the edge just to make it easier to handle this. Doesn't matter if you get it to the edge. I mean, it just sometimes it's easier to handle. But you also want that buttery goodness to get all over it. Beautiful. Make sure I get as much butter in there as I can. And now we're going to take our brown sugar and cinnamon mixture, and we want to sprinkle that all over the top. I want to use every bit of it. Get it as even as you can. Doesn't matter if you have some clumps. Those will be extra good bites. Great. While I'm thinking of it, I'm going to preheat the oven to 375. And then try to move this as evenly as possible. I like to use a little scraper tool to get me started, but I want a tight log, so I'm going to roll this up. Let's see if I can do this by hand. Man, not so much. It's too soft. This is easier. Keep a little flour on it. Makes it even easier. Oop. Get that log and then bring in that edge and pinch it off. Just to seal that up. May not stay real well, but then we're going to cut this into about 2-inch pieces. I use a serrated, I want to get that into a nice shape. Again, about 2 inches. Try to keep the form. You can go ahead and put them in your baking dish. You see these little tails? You want to kind of push those together. Should be about 3 across. Want the tails touching the other ones. I guess I didn't need this big a baking dish. Could have got away with a smaller one, but that's okay. That'll work. And once that oven comes up to 375, those are ready to go into the oven. But actually, I forgot. I need to let it rise again. So let me cover this with some saran wrap again, or plastic wrap, Glad wrap, whatever manufacturer. I'm just going to let it. Okay, these are ready to go into the oven at 375, and we're going to put them in there for, let's see, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. We'll keep an eye on them. We don't want them to get too brown because they get kind of tough. But anyway, here it goes. Into the oven, 375. And in the meantime, as we wait for our rolls to get done, we can start preparing our cream cheese frosting. And we do that with 3/4 cup of powdered sugar. And then 4 ounces or half of a normal block of cream cheese. We want to cut that into pieces just to make it easier to blend. So this is 4 ounces. Of course, I've set it out on the counter over an hour ago so it can get nice and soft, making again easier to blend. With that, we need 3 tablespoons of whole milk. 1, 2, 3. And to enhance that flavor, we're going to use a half a teaspoon. This is a quarter, so I'll use 2 of these of vanilla. That's a half a teaspoon. I find that a mixer is the easiest way to do this. Well, I want that to be a drizzle of cream cheese, and that needs to be thinned out a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit more milk in order to make it so it'll drizzle over the top. Oh yeah, that's it right there. Taste it. Yummy. Okay, we got to just wait for the cinnamon rolls to get done, and then we'll come back. Okay, this is what they look like after 15 minutes. And you can see it's not quite brown enough, so I'm going to go another 5 minutes. All right, I think they're ready to go. If you leave them in too long, they'll dry out a little bit. As you can start to see a little bit of browning, and that's what we want. Let's zoom in on them. Now we've got to let that cool off for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we can put our frosting on. So it's getting close. We'll be back in about 15 minutes. All right, it's been just over 15 minutes of cooling. And now my favorite part is that I can now drizzle, or can put I'm going to drizzle. I'm going to pour this frosting over the top of this cinnamon rolls. And then once I get it there, I'll spread it around. I want to get every bit of that goodness out of there as I can. And then we want to just spread that around every nook and cranny. Down the sides. Can't let that corner one get neglected. Okay, these are ready to eat. So I'm going to serve me up one and see how good they taste. Soft, sweet cinnamon buns. Okay, let me go ahead and get one out of there. Thank you for watching our video on cinnamon buns. We hope you try this. Please subscribe to our channel. It helps us out so much. And we'll see you in the next video.